I had a friend of mine that said everybody has a story. My first childhood memory is I was an orphan. My dad dropped me off at the orphanage, and I remember at 3 or 4 years of age him driving away. I knew what it was like to be abandoned as a child. My dad, he was a merchant seaman. He remarried years later, and I became part of a blended family with a stepbrother that was 8 years older than I am, and my dad's still not present in my life. So I started drinking when I was in 6th grade, not to drink, but to belong with that peer group of my older stepbrother.
From a young age, I was picked on a lot. Mom and Dad were both bartenders, so I came home alone all the time, and I always felt this emptiness in me.
When I first accepted Christ I was 16. I will never forget it. I was a good young guy, so I thought I was on track for heaven, because I know you had to be good for it.
I grew up in a 2-parent household. Grew up going to church and in Catholic school, so I learned about Jesus every single day, whether I wanted to or not. Cliche story, but I feel like I got caught up with the wrong crowd.
Freshman year in high school, my father passed away of an accidental overdose. And I always believed that there was a God, but when that happened, I was crushed and confused and wondering if there was a loving God, why would he do something like this?
I was sleeping underneath bridges, abandoned cars, and it felt a lot like what that little kid felt like when I was abandoned at the orphanage. Turned 17 on the street, went back home and got my stepmom to sign for me to be able to go into the armed services. And drug use has escalated for me. I was a cocaine and heroin addict by the time I was 20 years old.
Society kind of tells us, like, you grow up, you go out, you learn, you chase after your own dream. And so I felt like I was doing the right thing.
I had a journal. I called it, my journey, because I didn't feel comfortable. It didn't feel masculine to call it my journal at the time. So, and it was certain parts that I wrote in there, and then I happened to flip over the page. In that page, somehow it communicated, let go. And when I got that, I felt him speaking to me at that moment in time. Call it what you want, but I know for that moment in time, it allowed me to move forward and move on to greater things that he had in store for me.
I just remember one night being at a friend's house and really just intoxicated. I was high, and I freaked out. And in that moment, under my breath, I couldn't say it out loud, but I was just saying Jesus, Jesus, Jesus over and over again. And I felt like in that moment, like he met me. And I very clearly heard God say, go home, come home.
I kept trying to fill this hole, this void, and nothing would fill it, nothing would fill it. I ended up in jails, I ended up homeless, I ended up on the streets, and just miserable and wondering why. Like, why can't I find something, or what is wrong with me? Why is everyone else happy and I'm not?
My life changed in 1982 when I met a Christian aboard a ship I was on. He was my roommate, and he used to pray over his meals and read his Bible, and he'd tell me about Jesus, and I hated this guy. I really disliked him. I'd get high in front of him, I'd blow smoke in his face, I'd come in drunk and berate him, and I disliked him a lot. His name was Rod Friends, and he gave me a little New Testament, a Gideon's New Testament, when he got off that ship, and it was 5 October 1982, and he said, from your best friend, Rod Friends, and he gave me some verses to read on that. But he's the first person that ever told me the story of Jesus, how he died on the cross for my sins, that he's buried, he rose again, that he'd forgive me. And I don't know, for some reason I kept that book. And about 7 or 8 months later, I'm shooting cocaine and heroin in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, dropped the dope on the floor, scraping it up off the floor into a spoon. It's nasty, it's dirty, unhygienic, and I think I'm dying. I have my head in the sink in my room with a pillow about it. And in a moment of clarity, I thought about the Jesus that guy had told me about. And I didn't pray some elaborate theological prayer or anything. I simply got down on my knees in my bed and I said, "Help me, I can't."
I can't do things on my own. I've tried many times and I fail every time.
I wasn't an orphan. I recognized I was a part of the family of God, and my complete life changed from that time forward, and I was able to help. I'm able to help, like, abandoned people now, people that are broken, people that are hurt.
If you speak, he will hear you. He is listening always. He's the best listener. And even in times where you're concerned and frustrated because you're looking for that response, be assured that he knows he's heard you.
I can see in places where God was chasing after me, God was calling me, but I did not recognize it.
It's a series of moments that I think over time become one giant moment, and I see everything which is for, his glory, and it's better than any drug that I've ever felt.
I love because of Jesus, because he first loved me. I care because of Jesus. I want to tell other people because of Jesus. And that stuff's in me, and it comes from the inside out because of intimacy with him and his word and in prayer and in community. And that's for everybody. He died for the whole world, and the whole world is you.